Yo, yo, what's up? This is Stacking Bits, and got a little video I want to share with you guys. Just a kind of a volume analysis of the entire Bitcoin trend. I want to demonstrate a couple of things. I got a couple of other volume videos that are in the works that I wanted to share as well. I actually made a video, but it was like 20 minutes, and I just think that's too much. I'm gonna segment it and break it up into a couple of different videos and share with you guys. And those are just going to be general tutorial videos, but this one is an actual analysis of price and why I think Bitcoin, why I think the price is doing what it's doing, and where I think it's going, and exactly why I think it's going there. I think there's a ton of logic here, and it should make perfect sense to everybody. It's pretty freaking easy to understand. So let's look at this thing. I'm looking at the weekly chart here on Bitstamp, and I've got the fixed range volume tool, and I've got this thing. I'm measuring it from this point here where it checks off this support. We had the breakout right here. It pulled up, it checked, and off of this check is where the rally really took off. Bam. So I'm measuring it from there. And you know, right here is the point of control for this thing. The highest point of volume is right around 4.4K. We have a little gap up. We have another pretty sizable chunk of volume right here between 62, 63-ish, and 55. Pretty nice little chunk of volume. And then after that, I mean, you can pop volume up and just let it speak to you, man. What does this thing tell you? You look at this entire run, and what does it say? Well, it says our base is right here. This is the foundation. This is the building block. Volume creates support and resistance, and you know, that's a building block. Bam, off of that, that's the base. That's the mean, so to speak. And up here, you can see this thing just thins out. So when you see price do this, just run away and get really far away from the base. Uh, that's a great indication that this thing's coming back down. So really basic, easy way just to look at things, to measure out runs and see how the volume is how it's developing. And if it's starting to develop like this, and you can do this on macro trends as well. I mean, every wave, every impulse it behaves by similar dynamics. So use it at your discretion. But my intent of this thing is we're going to take a look at, we're going to sit and watch how this entire trend is developed, how the volume itself has developed across the entire bear trend since this takeoff point here. So starting at this base here, point of control, lots of volume up at that 4.4 range, let's pop across. And we can see volume starting to fill in here. We have a fair amount of volume that came in here during this entire leg down. Let's pull it across to the next major impulse, and you can see continued more volume coming in. And then let's pop it over to say maybe here. Now this is where something interesting happens. You can see that volume up here in this 8K range has you know, what do we got, from about 8.5 to 78 to 8.5. Now all of a sudden that is where the majority of the volume lies throughout this entire move. Now, what's the importance of that? Why does that matter? Well, that matters because now price has gotten below the point of control. Price is trapped below the point of control. So the largest point of resistance in this entire move is now, it's now above us. And you can see price came down, and where did it run into? It ran right into that point of resistance. Let's just drag this thing all the way across to get a look at how it's completely developed. And you can get a very clear picture at this point. Price has come back down. We've gotten below this bar at 7.8-ish. We've gotten below this bar at 7. And now we're in the middle of this bar. And you can see, look at this next bar at around 6.3K. Man, I'll tell you, I'm looking at this shelf right here, and I'm reluctant to believe if we, you know, if and when price slips down into here, I have to, logic tells me that price is trapped here. I don't see it getting back up, and we've got this giant gap down here waiting to be filled. And now here's what I think is going to happen. I don't really know how long price is going to grind and argue up here. It could be some time. We could get some movement in between, even back up to 8. I don't know, back up to at least here 7.7. I don't know. I think that this is going to come sooner than later. I think things have developed, and I believe price is going to get pushed down. And I think what happens is we end up with some capitulation down into this region somewhere where this previous point of control was. And I believe this gap right here is primarily where our accumulation is going to occur. And when volume fills up down here and it surpasses the volume above, well, that's what accumulation is. And that's what fuels the breakout. When volume here below builds the base and gives us the fuel that price needs to break out and move. And we can go and look, and you can look at this on just about any chart and watch the trend develop, watch the volume trend itself develop. And let's look at this previous run in 2014. And this isn't to, again, this isn't to play fractals, talk about, look at this fractal, look how it's going to do the exact same thing. You can look at this on any chart. Any altcoin chart behaves in a very similar fashion. All right, so let's look at this thing. I got this thing measured from a very similar point. It's measured at where we have this. Here's our breakout. We come up, and here's our check off of this support as this thing takes off. And you can see, that this volume profile is very similar. We've got all of our volume down here, our point of control down here, and then as this thing takes off, price just thins out. So it's a great indicator that this thing's going to top out and it's going to come plummeting back down. Now, if we look where capitulation occurred over here, and we put our cursor right on that thing and scroll your eyes across with where I have the cursor, and you can see the capitulation lands directly on top of this volume bar. And that, I mean, if you're just glancing at this in a basic way, that seems pretty obvious that that's where price was going to go. Now let's drag this thing across and see how the volume develops as price action continues. You can see the volume's filling in up here. Let's drag it across even more. You can see it filled in a lot throughout the course of all this price action. And you can see I've placed this here to kind of demonstrate. Here's our gap. Our gap is right here. As the price is developed, here's our gap. And I did that to kind of demonstrate. You can see clearly that this is where accumulation is. This is where capitulation occurs here. And this is where capitulation takes place. You can see that this volume is really starting to fill in, and it's getting very close to this volume here. So let's drag this guy across to here, and you can see, bam, volume up here now supersedes. We're in that same situation. Now the majority of the volume is above price, and you've got this gap down below, and it's just the course of nature taking place. The pressure is going to push price down into here. And now let's see what happens. We get capitulation. You can see a lot of volume fills in and just on that move alone. Let's drag this thing across like midway through. Let's see what it looks like. Bam. And that's it. That is the dynamic of volume and accumulation. That is what accumulation is. Accumulation is the filling of the gap. Price runs away, leaves gaps behind in volume, argues its way down for however many months or years that it needs to, and it comes down, capitulates eventually, panic sellers, and then it grinds its way through accumulation and the volume fills in the gaps. And at this point, when the volume gets back below price, that's how the breakout occurs. This volume fills in by the end of this thing, and this is where our breakout happened right here. This was our accumulation area, and this little final move right here is where the breakout occurs. Bam. and now we're off and running. We're in the bull trend from that point forward. But that's the dynamics of volume and how it functions. In my personal opinion, this is one of the ways in which I use it. And to me, this paints a very clear picture. If we go back and look at this guy and how it's developed, price has gotten stuck below volume, and we've got an obvious gap here. And I've got some other analysis. I don't know if any of you guys have watched my what is probably a semi-painful video with my Fibonacci analysis of these trends and this entire thing, but it points at the exact same areas. I've got a number of different types of analysis that I use, and I got a number of indicators that are just pointing me into the same region. And so far, this has been working really well for me. And I don't know, that's my 2 cents. Hopefully, this video has made a little bit of sense to you guys. You can utilize it, see what happens. Perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe I missed the boat on this thing, but I got a plan in place, and it's to fill my motherfucking bags with some serious Bitcoin when it comes down into here. And I got a number of things that I'm doing. I'm going to buy a hefty bag up in this little region in here, and that shit's going to go, and I'm going to leverage some of it on these moves down here. So I've got a short open from up here from 8.3K that I'm riding, and I'm riding that thing like a banshee down into the depths. I'm going to close that shit sub K. That's the plan. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Word. Peace.